Hi everyone. If you're watching this recording, it means I'm not quite trusting myself to be able to speak live very well. So yeah, I thought I'd do a recording instead. I'm recovering from surgery and each hour's a little bit unpredictable, to be honest. But what I can predict is that I am gutted to not be opening this festival live. But I will try and be as present as I can be throughout the day and hopefully have the chance to introduce some of the brilliant speakers. So I am kind of here and I want to thank all of you for being here too at the second AD4E online festival, and in such impressive numbers and from so many different countries. Haven't counted all of the countries yet, but I know that it covers 4 continents, which can't be bad. It feels great to be welcoming people from all over the world. It really is a global event, which is only good and right because, of course, the medicalisation and the pathologising of people's pain is absolutely a global problem. So this year's AD4E Festival is dedicated to our friend and ally, Paula J. Kaplan, who we very sadly lost in July. Paula was a force of nature in the challenge to psychiatric diagnosis and the pathologising of emotional distress. And I know for me, and for many of you watching, she'll be right in the front of our minds today and very much in our hearts, especially this evening when we show her incredible play, Call Me Crazy. I wanted to share just a little bit about the background of A Disorder for Everyone, starting with its name. It's a tongue-in-cheek criticism of a culture that labels and pathologises emotional distress and normal human experiences. We believe that the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, has medicalised normal human distress to such an extent that we could probably all relate to one set of diagnostic criteria or another if we cared to look. There really is a disorder for everyone. Almost 5 years ago now, in October 2016, we held the first A Disorder for Everyone event in Birmingham in the UK. And then we spent the next 3.5 years going around the UK with various versions of the same event, involving many different contributors from all walks of life, professionals, activists, academics, survivors, poets, authors, journalists, politicians, all challenging the mainstream medicalised understandings of emotional distress. And the last in-person event we did was in February 2020. So just before the world as we knew it changed. It really seems like a lifetime ago now. And at that point, we didn't know what we were going to do, as all our plans, like everybody else's plans, just kind of came to a halt. But a bit like a superhero flying in, saving the day, John and the rest of the online events team basically saved us. And if you know me and Lucy and anything about our collective skills when it comes to technology, you will know that this is no exaggeration. We can't even get projectors to work at live events, let alone sort out the technology involved in this kind of thing. But with online events in the picture, and yes, I am kind of imagining John in a red cape at this point, we were able to smoothly transition from in-person events to online events with 2 really significant bonuses. The first one, our events suddenly got a lot more affordable for people, just paying the donation that they wanted to pay. And number 2, of course, distance is suddenly no object. At that point, just before COVID struck, we had had invites from people in several different countries to come and do events. Denmark, America, Australia, Canada, New Zealand. We'd get excited when we'd get these invitations, but then kind of quickly realised that it wasn't financially viable, and we couldn't make it happen. But now all of those countries and many more are present, and as an event that's primarily about campaigning for change, that's obviously a good thing. So thank you, John and team, for rescuing us. It's really, really much appreciated. The AD4E events were inspired by Lucy Johnston's book, A Straight Talking Introduction to Psychiatric Diagnosis, which I read about 6 years ago, and it was a particularly low point when I was really frustrated and despairing with what I saw as the mass medicating and pathologising of people's pain that I was witnessing on a daily basis in my work and in my life. And Lucy's book gave me some hope, and it gave me a validation of what I felt and what I believed. And I just wanted to get some of these common sense ideas and messages as out there as possible. Lucy will explain more about those ideas shortly when she talks. But essentially, A Disorder for Everyone challenges psychiatric diagnosis and the assumption that emotional distress can be explained medically or biologically. And it's really important to stress that we're not saying that distress typically associated with diagnostic categories doesn't exist, because of course it does, but we are questioning if the diagnostic medical explanation is the best and most accurate way of describing and understanding it. And we're definitely challenging the fact that this mainstream narrative is so often imposed as truth with no information about the controversy over its scientific validity. And one of my favourite psychiatrists, okay, it might not be a long list, but that's not the point. Sami Tamimi said, psychiatric diagnosis is subjective opinion masquerading as fact. There is no blood test, there is no brain scan. Basically, it's my opinion against yours. And the truth is, there is no scientific evidence behind psychiatric diagnosis, whereas there is an ever-growing mountain of evidence about how emotional distress is connected to what has been experienced and to social factors. So AD4E challenges the culture of diagnosis and disorder and explores a whole variety of different non-pathologising ways of responding to it. So since last year's festival, which was an incredible day with over 18 countries represented, we've continued with our online events. And we've hosted poetry evenings every few months, including a poetry and music night back in April. And then in December last year, we hosted the most recent production of Paula Kaplan's play, Call Me Crazy, which over 1,000 people signed up for, and it was a really, really fantastic evening. And it just doesn't feel real that, you know, less than a year later, we're re-showing this incredible play, but in such sad circumstances after Paula's death. But I know that Paula would want the message of the play to be shared as widely as possible, because that's why she wrote it, and we want that too. I don't need to tell many of you about how incredible the play is, because I know a lot of you saw it last December, and so you know that firsthand. But for those of you who haven't seen it yet, please try and tune in at 7 o'clock UK time tonight to watch it, because we're not able to release the recording of it afterwards. So 7 PM UK time is your chance. I also want to flag up that Paula's interview that she did for last year's festival is available to watch on our YouTube channel. It's brilliant, do check it out. I still can't process how one person can fit so much wisdom into such a short interview. In February, we hosted an afternoon event called Change is Coming with Sami Tamimi, as I said earlier, my favourite psychiatrist, who spoke about his book called Insane Medicine, and Lucy Johnston and Mary Boyle, who spoke about their book, A Straight Talking Introduction to the Power Threat Meaning Framework. So there were two really fantastic presentations, which were followed by a really vibrant panel discussion. And then in July, we hosted a similar event, this time called Crucial Conversations, with James Davis, talking about his book, Sedated, How Modern Capitalism Created Our Mental Health Crisis, and Joanna Moncrief, my other favourite psychiatrist. Okay, it's probably time to say that I've got a list of favourite psychiatrists, but there's only two. There's only two on the list. I'm definitely open to the list becoming longer, though. Joanna spoke about her revised edition of the PCCS book, A Straight Talking Introduction to Psychiatric Drugs. So those were another two incredible presentations, and another great panel discussion followed those. They're all available to watch now on our YouTube channel, as I said before. So yeah, do check those out if you want to. So as I've mentioned books, it's probably appropriate to mention that the lovely people at PCCS have given us a discount code for any purchases of Drop the Disorder, We Are the Change Makers, A Straight Talking Introduction to Psychiatric Diagnosis, Straight Talking Introduction to Power Through Meaning. I think Joe Moncrief's book might be included in that list as well. So that's straight talking introduction to psychiatric drugs that I've just mentioned, all published by PCCS. So yeah, I am reliably informed that those books that I've just mentioned are amongst PCCS's bestsellers. So do take advantage of the discount if you happen to be in a book buying mood. As you can see, hopefully, if you've got the messages via Eventbrite from the schedule of the day, we've got many fantastic contributors speaking today. Their talks are going to be diverse and varied, but the people have a lot in common. They all stand against the medicalisation of distress. They stand against psychiatry's flawed explanations, and they want a society that responds differently to distress, a society that links emotional distress with what has happened in somebody's life, with what's been experienced, and one that holds to account social factors, inequalities, power imbalances that are often at the root of emotional distress. So they all want to see change, but not only that, they are all actively doing something to inform that change. And I do want to take this opportunity on behalf of AD4E to thank each of them, not just for being part of today's festival, but for their tireless work on a daily basis that is collectively making change happen. And I know that many people watching today are doing the same. So much good work is going on. So thank you for all that you do. And we really hope that A Disorder for Everyone has served, even in a small way, to support and encourage people to be actively part of a movement for change. And we're encouraged every day by examples of all the good stuff that's happening out there, like organisations changing policies to discourage the use of medicalised language, counselling courses adding critical books to their book lists, and most importantly, I guess, hearing stories and many examples of individuals that understand their distress and problems differently and are reconnecting with their own stories and social contexts where they so often find the sense that they need. So many people are tired of this failing system. It's a system that helps so few and damages so many, and we want something different. And there are lots of reasons to be hopeful. And my biggest wish for today is that what we hear over the next 12 hours, along with the experience of coming together in such large numbers, will connect us all, and that hope will offer a sense of solidarity and connection that we can take with us into our all too often, I guess, isolated workplaces and lives. And if that happens, even for some, it's a win. So thank you again for joining us today, and yeah, have a great day.